Gimpy Gimpy. Look at this plant from a distance and you won't see anything unusual. No sharp thorns, no warning colors, no bizarre shapes like those carnivorous plants in movies. It looks like a standard, harmless forest plant. Reality check. This is one of the most venomous and dangerous plants in the world, and Australia's notorious silent killer. The entire stem, leaves, and branches are covered in millions of microscopic hairs, each just 0.2 to 0.3 millimeters long. They are so fine they're almost invisible to the naked eye. And these hairs are exactly what turns this harmless-looking plant into a living nightmare. Brush against a leaf, and those tiny hairs snap off, embedding deep into your skin like glass needles and releasing a massive dose of a powerful neurotoxin. Victims describe the pain as not just ordinary pain. It's compared to being sprayed directly with acid, continuously electrocuted, or having thousands of red-hot needles driven into every muscle fiber. This pain doesn't just come and go. It's relentless, lasting for hours, days, and in some recorded cases, even months. What's worse, victims report that just a change in temperature or a warm shower can trigger the pain all over again, as if the venom is still alive inside their bodies. The nightmare doesn't stop there. Even the air around the plant is weaponized. The shed hairs float in the air. Inhaling them causes severe burning in the nose and throat, sending people into a blind panic because they have no idea what's happening. Historically, victims have gone into severe shock, panicked, and died simply from encountering this plant. It doesn't need roots to crawl. It doesn't hunt. It doesn't move. It just stands there, waiting for you to walk right into your own fatal mistake. If the Gimpy Gimpy is a frontal assault killer delivering instant agony, our next plant is dangerous in a much quieter, more sinister way. Suicide tree, Cerbera odolum. From the outside, it's hard to feel intimidated. The fruit is green, shaped a lot like a young mango, and honestly, looks pretty appetizing. Reality check. This is one of the deadliest plants in South Asia, responsible for the highest number of plant poisoning deaths. Found heavily in southwest India and parts of Hainan, China, its fruit packs an extremely dangerous toxin called cerberin. This poison doesn't burn you. It doesn't cause violent seizures immediately. It doesn't make victims scream for help in a panic. It strikes straight at the heart. Cerberin disrupts your heart rhythm, slowing it down until it stops entirely. The most terrifying part? The symptoms of cerberin poisoning look exactly like a natural heart attack. The victim might feel dizzy, struggle to breathe, experience chest pain, and suddenly collapse. Without specialized toxicology tests, even forensic doctors struggle to tell if it was a natural death or a murder. Because of this chilling perfection, the suicide tree has been weaponized for years as an undetectable tool for silent murder. In some regions, it earned a darker nickname, the suicide tree or the self-murder mango. No traces, no clear evidence, no violence needed. Just one small fruit is enough to turn a murder into a totally natural heart attack on paper. While the suicide tree hides its danger in invisible chemical warfare, our next plant doesn't need poison at all. It kills with pure gravity. Bunya pine. Native to Northeast Australia, the bunya pine is an absolute giant. Fully grown, it towers 30 to 70 meters high, roughly a 10 to 20-story building. The trunk and leaves are totally non-toxic. Touching them doesn't hurt. At a glance, it's completely harmless. But the real terror drops from the top. The bunya pine produces massive cones that look a bit like pineapples, but exponentially larger. A single cone can weigh up to 15 kilograms. Imagine a 15-kilogram weight free-falling from dozens of meters straight onto where you are standing. No poison, no heart attacks, no respiratory failure. Just one single impact is enough to cause fatal traumatic brain injury or instant death. Countless accidents have happened simply because people stood or walked under the bunya pine canopy right when the cones ripened or high winds hit. Because of this massive risk, many parks and residential areas in Australia are forced to build fences, put up warning signs, and ban people from getting close during fruiting season. If the bunya pine is a threat dropping from the sky to end it all instantly, our next plant is dangerous in a much slower, quieter, and deeply terrifying way. Blind your eye mangrove. Growing mostly in dense mangroves and coastal swamps, this is a place where human survival is already tough. On the surface, it looks like any other mangrove tree. Woody stem, green leaves. Absolutely no clear warning signs. But reality check. Its entire destructive power is packed into something incredibly small and easily ignored. The sap. Inside the trunk runs a milky white sap. Just one touch on human skin, and that area instantly burns, blisters, ulcerates, and leaves long-lasting damage. But the absolute nightmare begins if this sap gets into your eyes. Recorded cases show that a single drop in the eye is enough to cause temporary blindness and even permanent vision loss if not treated immediately. It gets worse. Even when the branches are dead and dry, the toxin is fully active. If someone accidentally chops or burns this wood, the smoke carries the toxic chemicals right into the air. This smoke causes severe eye irritation, blurring vision, or destroying corneas. In a muddy mangrove swamp with terrible visibility, surrounded by apex predators like crocodiles, losing your sight is a guaranteed death sentence. If the blind-your-eye mangrove is a hidden assassin in remote, untouchable swamps, our next plant is terrifying for a completely different reason. It is right next to you. Oleander. This is one of the most familiar toxic plants to humans, so familiar that most people forget it's even dangerous. Oleanders are planted everywhere, in front yards, in parks, along highways. Why? Because the flowers are beautiful, it survives easily, and it requires zero maintenance. Reality check. This is one of the most toxic plants on the planet. The terrifying truth about the oleander is that absolutely no part of it is safe. Toxic leaves, toxic flowers, toxic branches, toxic roots. Even a tiny amount entering your body can cause cardiac arrest and death. And it's not just deadly when fresh. Dried leaves or smoke from burning the wood still carry enough poison to trigger severe toxicity. History has recorded cases where people used oleander branches as skewers for meat or burned them for cooking fire. The result? Entire families poisoned within hours. The most vulnerable victims are children. The scariest part isn't the oleander's toxicity. It's how completely blind we've become to its presence. We are so used to it that our guard is completely down. If the oleander is a killer hiding in plain sight, our next plant is deadly in a much English yew. Highly common in Europe, especially the UK, you'll often find it planted in churchyards and cemeteries. Its ancient look, evergreen leaves, and association with eternity make it a classic choice. Reality check. Behind that solemn exterior lies one of the deadliest toxins in the plant kingdom. Almost the entire yew tree is packed with poison. Toxic leaves, toxic bark, toxic branches. The ultimate trap? Its fruit has a bright, attractive red fleshy part, and that flesh is completely non-toxic. But sitting right inside is a highly poisonous seed. Crunch or swallow that seed, and a toxin called taxine goes straight for your cardiovascular system. The most terrifying thing about taxine isn't intense pain or instant symptoms. It's the opposite. A poisoned victim might feel absolutely nothing unusual for hours. No nausea, no seizures, no crying for help. The poison works in total silence. It scrambles the heart rhythm, slowing it down until it abruptly stops. In many cases, victims are simply found dead without a single clear warning sign beforehand. Even today, there is no specific antidote for English yew poisoning. Once the toxin digs deep enough, modern medicine is essentially powerless. If the English yew is a silent, slow, and stealthy assassin, the next plant on our list is dangerous in the exact opposite way. Strychnine tree. If you're hiking and spot a tree heavy with round, bright orange fruits that look exactly like small oranges or tangerines but lack that familiar citrus smell, walk away. Don't let curiosity win, because just one mistake, one bite, and you are ingesting one of the most legendary, brutal poisons ever known to humanity. The seeds of the strychnine tree contain two insanely potent compounds, strychnine and brucine. This isn't the kind of poison that puts you to sleep or slowly drains you like the yew. Strychnine launches a massive, direct assault on your nervous system. It triggers violent, uncontrollable, full-body convulsions. Your muscles are forced into continuous, rigid spasms. Your spine arches, your jaw locks shut. Your breathing is paralyzed, yet your mind remains completely, horrifyingly awake. Cold reality. The victim knows exactly that they are dying, but they cannot do a single thing to stop it. Just a microscopic amount, even chewing a single seed, pushes the fatality rate to the absolute limit, and the nightmare spreads. The bark, roots, and other parts of the tree are also loaded with toxins. In the wild, this is the ultimate warning. Never taste anything just because it looks familiar. If the strychnine tree kills with brutal chemical warfare, our next plant is deadly in a much louder, more violent, and unpredictable way. Sandbox tree, Cura crepitans. Found deep in the tropical forests of the Americas, particularly the Amazon. At first glance, it looks like a normal forest tree, but get closer and you'll see the trunk is armored with massive, sharp spikes. Inside, it bleeds a toxic sap that can cause instant blindness. But that isn't the scariest part. What makes the sandbox tree a legendary hazard is its fruit. Shaped like tiny pumpkins, they are packed with seeds. Here's the catch. When the fruit ripens, it doesn't just fall off. It detonates, a literal explosion. The pressure inside the fruit builds over time until the shell completely fails, blasting apart with a loud bang and launching seeds in every direction at extreme velocities. These seeds can fly dozens of meters, and their impact force is compared to small shrapnel. If you are unlucky enough to stand nearby at that exact moment, you can suffer severe injuries or even die just from being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It doesn't stop there. Even the pollen of the sandbox tree causes severe respiratory irritation, leaving anyone who inhales it choking, dizzy, and totally disoriented in the middle of a dense jungle. Simply put, from the trunk to the sap to the pollen to the exploding fruit, absolutely no part of this tree is safe. If the sandbox tree kills with raw, violent physics, our next plant is dangerous in a way that is quieter, more seductive, and infinitely more terrifying.
Angel's trumpet. The name sounds heavenly, but reality check. What it brings is absolutely not paradise. Part of the nightshade family, unlike the usual small toxic weeds, this is a large woody shrub. Its signature look? Massive flowers hanging upside down, exactly like trumpets suspended in midair. It is bizarrely beautiful. Huge, soft-colored blooms, and a deep, sweet, incredibly relaxing fragrance. That fragrance is the trap. The entire plant, leaves, stems, flowers, and seeds, is loaded with extreme alkaloids that trigger massive hallucinations, total disorientation, paranoia, and in many cases, death. The terrifying part? You don't need to eat it. You don't need to touch it. Just inhaling too much of its heavy fragrance, especially in an enclosed space, is enough to send your brain into a state of total loss of control. Victims exposed to Angel's trumpet are reported to lose the ability to distinguish reality from illusion. They feel no pain, and they commit actions they have absolutely zero memory of afterward. Across multiple cultures, this plant has been tied to dark rituals, knockout drops, and even psychological warfare. It doesn't kill you instantly. It completely deletes your mind first, and death, if it happens, is just the final consequence. And finally, the last plant on our list is terrifying in a completely different way.
Manchineel, thriving along the coasts of Central and South America. From a distance, nothing stands out. Green canopy, standard trunk. Its signature? Small green fruits that look exactly like wild crab apples. And that resemblance has cost many people heavily. Bite into a manchineel fruit and it tastes slightly sweet at first. But seconds later, a violent, burning, tearing sensation rips through your throat, followed by excruciating pain and massive toxicity. Just one fruit is easily enough to kill an adult. But the true horror is that you don't even have to eat it. Every single inch of the manchineel tree is lethal. The sap is a high-grade acid. Just a drop on your skin causes intense chemical burns. If it hits your eyes, you are permanently blind. And here is the detail that turns the manchineel into a living nightmare. On a rainy day, absolutely never take shelter under this tree. As rainwater washes over the manchineel leaves, it mixes with the toxic sap and drops down as a natural acid rain. There are recorded cases of people standing under a manchineel to escape a storm, only to end up with their skin blistered, their eyes severely damaged, and being rushed to the emergency room. We aren't done. Even after you chop it down, the wood remains a massive threat. Burning manchineel wood releases smoke that can cause temporary or permanent blindness. The manchineel is a biological weapon that simply does not give you a second chance if you make a mistake. That's exactly why many countries are forced to paint red rings or hang massive warning signs around the few manchineel trees left in the wild. And those are 10 extremely dangerous plants hiding right in plain sight. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss our latest deep dives. Thanks for watching and see you next time.